Welcome to Loading the Bar with physical training experts Parker McBride and Matt Wasco. Our Fit Lifestyle podcast covers the science of nutrition and fitness, together with the challenges we all face to be disciplined. We'll guide you through the minefields of fads and gimmicks and all manner of BS that tempt us in today's fitness world. Ready to begin? Then let's start loading the bar.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Loading the Bar podcast. Parker McBride here, joined as always by my co-host, Matt Wasco. How you doing today, Matt?
I'm good, but I'm not happy.
You're not happy?
No, I'm very sad. I lost 5 pounds.
Oh.
I lost
Matt
5 pounds.
Had to, in our phone call yesterday, he had to keep me longer to make sure to vent about the fact that he lost 5 pounds.
I'm very upset about it because that 5 pounds was very hard to add. So because of Lent and stressors at home, my diet has been fluctuating a little bit. Work hours been changing a lot. So I've lost 5 pounds.
I'm sure there are plenty of people out there willing to donate you 5 pounds.
I'll donate 5 pounds.
Yeah,
to you
two
right
right
now.
Please, I need it. I need it. So anyway, but
Well,
outside of that,
Well, good. And today we're welcoming on two very special guests here. So we've got Thomas and Claire Suver, a couple that Matt and I have known for quite a while, worked with. They are a couple that is doing their fitness journey together. So we're really excited to have them on today and lots of good things to hear from them. So thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
yeah, I'm excited to kind of hear other people's perspectives. You know, things that you struggle with, things that we all struggle with these things. So I always found that when we talk to the people that we train, they've developed their own little tips and tricks to help them get over a dry spell or to straighten out their meal prep or their diet. And then I usually will have them talk to other people that are struggling as well. So this will be good for our audience.
Yeah, every challenge you guys have faced, other people are facing it too, and they want to hear about it. So, but first, before we dive into that, we have our fitness focus segment that
Yes.
we have done now for a couple of episodes. And Matt sent me a really good study this week. The study is about creatine. So, who did this study? Let's see.
Well, it was a meta-analysis.
Okay.
And if you hit that there, that nutritional will take you to the actual study. But they analyzed literally thousands of other studies on creatine. And they came down to, I think it was like 17 studies out of those thousands.
I think that's right.
And they found 6 weren't, the measurements weren't right, and they found 10 that I think they included. I think that's correct. And found out it improves memory. Not so much in the 11 to 31-year-olds, that was their age bracket, but they found it improved memory in 66 to 77. So I'm
getting
ready.
close.
I'm getting close, man.
Which is fascinating because, most creatine studies have shown, obviously, the improvements in muscle gain and strength, things like that. But, you haven't heard a lot about the memory benefits of creatine.
Well, and I found this interesting because a meta-analysis being that they studied studies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you'd think maybe if this is another studies that this would have come out sooner but they've pulled this together. Obviously, the way they measured this was very important. And there were some other findings that came out of that study that were pretty interesting. But as we've talked about it all the time, it's the most researched supplement on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that don't know, it sits in the muscles, it feeds ATP, and it's a very important ingredient that we get out of meat and fish.
Yeah, it's a naturally occurring supplement, which I think is one of the reasons why it's beneficial. It's not a processed artificial ingredient. It's something found in meat that we all eat. And a lot of people these days are deficient in how much meat they eat, and so especially red meat. I did a little bit of research on the creatine content. Red meat is one of the highest creatine content foods out there, and it takes about 2 pounds of red meat to get 5 grams of creatine.
Yeah.
So the recommended daily dose on most of the studies is about 5 grams a day. What are the odds that the average human is getting 2 pounds of red meat in a day?
Absolutely below 10%, my guess.
Oh, yeah, I'd say far below 10%.
Yeah. I mean, some of the studies, and this is something that we talked to prior about the show, is there were the amounts given was 2.2 to 20 grams a day. And they found that this overall improved memory. And we've always, in the research I've done, the studies I've seen, is 5 grams is only can be processed up to about 5 grams per person. You take it past that, it's difficult for the body to process unless you're loading in like you're deficient completely. So it's an interesting study that I'm excited about, because I take it every single day, because it's a supplement that has to be compounded. It's not something you can take on Friday and not take it for a few days and then take it on Wednesday and not take it. You have to take it every single day for it to have its beneficial effects.
Yeah, we talked a couple weeks ago about vitamin D, one of the studies we brought up that day, and about how you could get a very large dose of vitamin D and that could last you for a very long period of time because it stores in the fat cells.
Right.
Because creatine is very similar in that it stores for a longer period of time and you kind of have a build-up phase. So if you haven't been eating a lot of meat lately, you're probably going to be deficient in creatine, and you need large amounts for a short period of time to sort of build up your reserves and get you to a sufficient level. And then from there, you go on sort of a maintenance dose every day of about 5 grams. That's typically what's recommended.
Great information.
Yeah.
How about you guys? Do you guys supplement with creatine?
I did when I was younger in the Marine Corps. Always worked out. So, everybody had that competition, who could get bigger, who could, So, yeah, that. And then when we did join the gym, when we first started working with you guys, it was recommended to get on it for at least a good cycle or two. So we did. I started it for sure. And, saw a huge improvement. The biggest thing I realized that if I did not drink enough water, I felt so dehydrated for 2 days. So it was just that constant make sure drinking enough water and eating right. Because even taking it and then eating a small fry from McDonald's, I would feel sick, or the salt and everything just dehydrate me so quickly that I was just felt terrible for the next day or two.
Yeah.
So.
Well, creatine increases water absorption in the muscles. So that's one of the main reasons why you feel dehydrated, because your body holds on to a lot more water while you are taking creatine.
Yeah, another component, I was reading this earlier, is that, supplementation, this is from the actual study, supplementation of 5 grams for a day for 6 weeks in vegetarians, in direct comparison to that, of omnivores and vegetarians, the Benton Donahue study found better memory following creatine supplementation 20 grams a day for 5 days in vegetarians compared with meat eaters. Meaning, if you're a vegetarian, you're not getting enough creatine. That's why
in your natural diet.
In your natural diet,
you need more from supplementation.
Yeah,
and that makes sense.
Yeah, so guys, load up on your creatine. It's especially if you're around my age, I suggest it, because I think my memory's improved taking it.
I don't know. I will say, though, we do know protein synthesis decreases as you age.
Yeah.
So it also makes sense that a common nutrient found in meat and in protein-rich foods that's also stored in the muscle is going to go down as you age.
Yeah.
So just like we need more protein as we get older, mainly looking at you, Matt, not the other people here, but we also need more creatine as we get older.
Yeah.
So that's the conclusion there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now I want to kind of move into talking to Thomas and Claire a little bit. I think where I want to start is just have you guys talk a little bit about what got you into fitness, what got you into wanting to live a healthy lifestyle. And I want to talk to each of you kind of individually on that, and then go into how that kind of came together when you guys became a couple. Right. So, Claire, let's start with you. Just kind of give us a little breakdown of what got you going in fitness.
Yeah, so I did a lot of sports growing up. I was always very involved in all sorts of sports. And so I didn't honestly really think about fitness. I just kind of I swam, I did track, I, played different sports, soccer. And then when I went to college, it kind of just became a part of my routine to go to the gym. It helped just with anxiety. It helped with just kind of being able to cope with moving so far away, different things like that. So I kind of stuck with it. But then once I got out of college and I started working full time and we met and we just got busy with life, I fell off of it. Honestly, I really didn't go to the gym. I didn't do a whole lot. I just kind of fell into my routine and stopped. And so soon after we kind of got married, COVID hit. We got comfortable. We stayed in a lot. And so it was right around when COVID was kind of starting to finish that we felt we both just didn't like how we looked. We didn't like how we felt. We felt sick all the time. We just knew this wasn't a good lifestyle for us. And so that's kind of when we shifted our focus to, okay, we're clearly not going to the gym on our own. We're clearly not eating what we should be. We're taking the easy route. We're eating out a lot. And so then once we kind of shifted into getting some more personal training, personal attention, we really had to focus on, this is something that we want and that we need to stick to and hold each other accountable. And so we were able to really kind of switch our eating, switch our, fitness routine, really get back into it. And so it was a deep dive into that. It was we're going to commit and we're going to commit fully. And ever since then, we've really been able to kind of determine what works for us. What are other avenues of our fitness journey, hiking, walking, different things like that to incorporate in our lives now, that truly we just kind of got away from all of it for a long time. And so I enjoy it even more now. Lifting, doing different things like that wasn't something I ever really did before, but I've found it works for me and I really enjoy it. And so
you kind of found that's something I talk about a lot is when people are new to the gym, and it sounds like you discovered it, but people new to the gym, I try to tell them to embrace the grind, embrace the day in and the day out, make that your happy time. Make when you walk through the gym, you forget about everything going on in your life, and this is you improving your health, right? So, and it found like you found that. So that way goals just kind of happen, right? You just suddenly hit them, and, like I'll take myself example. When I have a disappointment with my weight, my fitness or something, I don't panic because I know I can fix it because this is a lifestyle. It's not, I got to get this in by X date because I'm only happy when I can do this, right? Yeah. No, it's happy every time I'm in the gym. That's my part of my piece. I relieve the stress in my life, So it's important that people understand it's a lifestyle, not hey, when I reach my goal, this stops, right? No. But we all struggle with, challenges that come into our life. So, and you've mentioned that.
Yeah. And I think that was, and I'm not sure for others, but as a female, right, like especially in college, I kind of I was able to just maintain, honestly. Like I didn't question my weight. I didn't question anything. And I think that's when I dipped into that, lifestyle of, I'll be like this forever. I'm fine.
Right.
I'm fine. And it wasn't until I wasn't that I started realizing, right? And it took me a while to get there, but I do think it's that mentality that I had to relearn of like, no, I enjoy this. This isn't work. I do have to work for it, but I enjoy it. So I want to go. And I can see the benefits in my day-to-day life. I can see the benefits of just not feeling as stressed at work, of just, I do enjoy when I walk into the gym. And it took me a minute to get there, but once I did get there, that was a game changer for us, I think, for me especially.
It's kind of like you don't really appreciate it until you don't have it.
Exactly.
And so growing up, I was similar in that playing sports, always active. It was just always there.
Yeah.
And health was always just there. You're young, you're healthy. And you get an office job or something, you're sitting down all day. It's not necessarily a part of your routine anymore. And you start to not have it and you realize how much you miss it. Yeah. And then when you get back to it, it's like, this is home. This is how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be active. We're supposed to be treating our bodies the right way, be healthy, things like that.
Well, you think about our daily lives. It's so sedentary. We're not using our backs the way we would, decades and decades ago. It's a lot of sitting and, everything's done at a computer. And so gyms are very important these days. I mean, it's still growing as far as how many people are out of shape in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
It continually, that number is still growing, especially after the pandemic.
Well, Thomas, you want to talk to us a little bit about your introduction?
So same thing as a kid, grew up playing sports, so never really thought much of like, oh, this is, healthy. I'm just always active. Then joined the military, same thing. You're always going, you're always working out, you're training. And then when I got out of the Marine Corps, I know it kind of seems like this might be a lot of things for veterans. The lifestyle you lived of like, again, like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We drank a lot all the time and we ate unhealthy, but you wake up in the morning and you go run 5 miles. So everything you ate and drank last night's pretty much out of your system or almost. So it's just repeat. Did have a lot of people that, you're always in the gym. That was their thing. And then when you get out, you lose that sense of, oh, hey, I'm on a, routine every morning. I'm not waking up at 6 a.m. to go run 5-6 miles a day. I don't have to do this. So a lot of people keep that same style of drinking and eating unhealthy. And then before you know it, you put a lot of weight on. And that's what I did. And then I met Claire and kind of turned it around. I was like, oh, I got to get in shape to, make this girl think I'm attractive or something, I guess. And then I got into contracting overseas and basically almost lost my job because at the time they had a stigma to where age groups. So I was 25, and in that age group, you couldn't have more than 10% body fat because you were just so much. And when I first went to the school, I was like 12% body fat. And after my first test, they basically gave me 2 months to lose that 2% body fat. Otherwise, I would have lost my job.
Wow.
So, like, that job is now, I guess the job, they've taken that part out because, again, like Matt was saying, they can't keep the people because obesity and unhealthiness in this country is just constantly growing. So I did that, and then once I got out of contracting, kind of same thing again. I got unmotivated. I kind of was like trying to find my purpose along the way. Started putting weight on again, and then again COVID hit and got comfortable, got lazy, got a desk job. I didn't have to, do anything, and it just added on. And one day I looked in the mirror and I was like, all my clothes pretty much didn't fit anymore, and I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? Like, I need to change. And so I sat down with her and I was like, hey, found this gym, want to go check it out. Because like I know with me in the military, we did a lot of HIIT training. So for me, some reason HIIT works great for me. Traditional workouts work great too. Like working with you guys, you can put up a lot of weight really quick, but like to try to shed weight for some reason, if I don't include any cardio, like I will be the same weight, but just build muscle around that.
Right.
So like that's the hard part is like I hate cardio with a passion. But we're getting more into like swimming and stuff like that, like the alternative methods, like going on hikes and things like that for like 5-6 miles and wearing a backpack with 10 pounds in it just to sweat and just try to build some kind of muscle while we're going.
And these are things you're doing now?
Yes. So it kind of stinks because we haven't been to the gym in a couple months. That's definitely on us. Just we got comfortable But just because we didn't go to the gym doesn't mean we didn't work out. Like we still went on walks and we still did stuff. So like we've been really good at being able to maintain our weight. And then again, like once we learn like proper food, food prep and portion control and like what my protein intake should be and her protein, like we have kept to that so much that like anymore when we don't do that, we're like, hang on here. Like we way overate. Like we need to cleanse. We need to like get back on schedule and stuff. So it is kind of nice. She keeps me on track. I try and keep her on track, but every now and then it's like, sneak a treat every now and then, like ice cream or Snickers bar or something when the other one's not looking.
Did you hear that?
Oh yeah. I'm the one that does
rappers.
Oh, it's mostly her.
I'm the one that's always like so Sonic, and he's like, no. And I get mad about it, but it's fine.
Yeah.
I get over it.
You got to have a little bit of that, but I do like what you mentioned there about the accountability.
Yeah.
You guys have a built-in accountability partner that you live with, you're with all the time, and I found that's really important. How has that helped you guys stay on your journey? I know you guys, kind of sat down together and started back on this journey together, but how has having that accountability partner helped you guys keep it going?
I think it's helped a lot. I mean, again, it could go either way, right? Like if there's a day that I'm just not feeling it and I'm saying, hey, I just don't want to go. I don't want to do anything. I want to sit on the couch. It is extremely easy for him to just
to give in
to that and
Yeah.
just say, yeah, I'm not feeling it either. I'm tired. I had a rough day, and vice versa. Like, but at the same time, we both know that if we keep enabling each other, the path that we're going to go down, because we've been down it before. And so it's easy to be like, hey, no, you're not going to get Sonic.
And like,
we're going to do something else.
and like to your point, you're talking about like coming home from work and just like not being in the mood. Like you do see your partner as that, and you're like, oh man, they had like a really stressful day. Like, yeah, like what happened? Like, yeah, sure, we can relax, but then it's like that one bad day turns into 2 bad days, or 3 bad days, or 4 bad days, and then it's like, okay, we're going down a path that we need to get off of immediately. And there's times where she'll notice it or I'll notice it, and we just say like, hey, like we need to do something. Like even if it's just a short 1 mile walk around the neighborhood with the dogs, like we need to do something. And then of course we'll do that, and then it's like, oh man, like feel great. It's all those endorphins and everything coming back. It's like, oh, that felt great. Like feeling a better mood. Like, okay, yeah, let's try it tomorrow, and
Right.
we'll go right back on track. So it's that hit or miss, but it's like you also want to, give your partner that time to like decompress. It's like, oh, I can see in your face like how rough of a day you had or something that, yeah, like go ahead and relax. Like that's perfectly fine. But then it's like tomorrow we need a fresh start tomorrow instead of leaving it, the bad week.
So what about, we all facing challenges in, maintaining our fitness and our nutrition. I have it in my own house, right? I'm the healthiest eater in my house right now. And so sometimes I will either eat a small portion of what's being made, or I won't eat it at all, right? And that's causes conflict.
Yeah.
It just does. You don't want to eat what I made. Because I'm like, I'm thinking protein all the time, right? I don't sit down with a snack or a meal unless there's a significant amount of protein in it. So that causes, when everyone wants pasta, it's like, well, what's the protein that's going to be in there, right? So, I know my own personal challenges, and I've developed a little internal strategies to deal with it. And sometimes it's just no, right? And so at some point, your friends and family around you they've gotten used to that after the initial shock of, wait, you don't want to drink with us? Or wait, you don't want to have, this high carb, meal, so now a pattern has been developed amongst friends and family. They know if they're hanging out with me, this is what's going to happen. And so it's not as big a shock anymore, right? Mm-hmm. But there was a process going from I'm determining that I'm not going to eat that way to how I eat now. But I still, like you guys said, I still like have my cheat days built in, right? And when you're trying to gain weight, that opens up probably a few more cheat days than usual. But
Matt's over here complaining about having to try to gain weight.
So the point is like, what is at the top of your list? What are the things in your life that have become, they derail you? Because a lot of people struggle with that. And then I'd like to follow up with your strategies in between yourselves, how you overcame that.
Gotcha. Do you want?
Sure, I'll go first. I think the 2 things that derail me are sweets and alcohol, 100% all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because we're way more aware of it now. So I'm not saying that we don't still do it. We absolutely do. But we're way more aware of it. And I think we kind of plan around it. So if I do feel like I need to cheat and I need my ice cream or I need my chocolate bar, okay, maybe I will give in, but I'm aware of that the next few days. I'm not as hard on myself. Like I will gauge and try to make up for it, in other words. And I know it doesn't always work out that way, but same thing with alcohol. I think it's easy to say, hey, we're going to have a glass of wine or two with dinner. That's great. But then the next night it's like, oh, but a beer would be really great with this, you know? And so those, I would say, sweets more than him affect me, but I think alcohol in general affects both of us. And we did get really good there for a while cutting it out. But then you have holidays, you have birthdays, you have the social aspect. Yeah, like you're just expected to drink if you're going out with your friends. And so it's not that we can't say no. We will say no, but we're also kind of, we plan in advance of like, okay, we know that we're probably going to go out that night. We know that we might eat out or might have a couple beers. What do we need to do prior to that? Or can we adjust what we're eating to kind of help accommodate what we do want to do? But those are our biggest, that's my biggest, is alcohol.
Well, it's about setting goals, right? And goals that you are happy with, right? Yeah. So, you know, if having that occasional drink is something that is part of your life, then you understand the ramifications. And if you're happy with that goal and you're still able to achieve fitness, then that's an acceptable strategy, right? So it just depends on what your outcome wants to be. And it sounds like that's what you're kind of talking about is I know that I can include this much alcohol during a week or a month, and I can still maintain or reach my monthly goals, be it weight or fitness goal of some sort.
Yeah.
What about you, Thomas?
Yeah, mine is, it's definitely alcohol. And then I guess the other one would probably just be like, I don't know, carbs. Like carbs is a big thing to me. I don't know what, probably because I grew up in a family where it was, you always had some kind of bread at dinner, you know, biscuits and gravy. And so it's all kinds of carb loading meals. So like, yeah, I guess just trying to think like what derails me is like anymore now. Like we do HelloFresh because like, and we specialize it to like, we want a lot of protein and every now and then they'll have pasta meals and I'm like, hey, like, yeah, like let's get this one. Like, and then of course, yeah, every now and then, you know, she's like, oh, we had pasta like last week. I'm like, I know, but it was good. Right. Like, you know, try and do the, you know, like, oh, come on, like sweet talk her into it. And she's like, no. So I'm like, all right, fine. But like you guys were saying, like, you know, setting down and looking like, what will derail me is like anymore, like I try not to look at like the weight of numbers or like what my weight is and stuff like that. It's like how I feel and stuff like that because like I know I'm not 22 anymore. I know I'm not going to be 175 pounds and just solid muscle anymore. I'm not saying I couldn't get there. Like it'd be a lot of work, but I'm like at the same time I still want to enjoy and go out and hang out with friends and go to social events and not saying I couldn't maintain that, but I like to have that comfortability of like, okay, hey, if I go out here, if I eat clean this whole week, like, yeah, I might ruin it. It's going to counterbalance it. But I know in the back of my mind, okay, next week I don't have anything. So I'll just go back to eating clean and stuff like that. So my hard part, though, is like when I do get derailed, it's hard to kind of like rope myself back in. It takes either her or me to be, or mostly her to be like, hey, like, we've had a pasta meal already this week. We don't need another one next week. Like, let's order something different or look at something different. Or it's like, well, we had beer over the weekend. Like, we had quite a bit. Like, we don't really need anything this week for our meals and stuff. So, again, it goes back to that accountability and just kind of roping each other in and be like, hey, like, we have our goals of where we want to be at, but we're going to keep pushing them back if we don't wrangle ourselves back in and stay on the track that we need to.
And you also, once you switch to the healthy eating, it actually is hard to go back. So when we really got on our meal plan and cut out alcohol and stayed on our supplements, when we did have even just one treat meal or one beer, it was an immediate like, oh my God, I feel sick. I feel gross. I don't like this. I don't like that feeling. And the more we give into it, the easier it is to make that excuse because it doesn't affect us as badly. Yeah. But we've kind of come to realize that is we're way more, we acknowledge it more and we're quicker to kind of just identify, hey, this isn't good for us. But also we don't love how it makes us feel. The more we do it, the worse we feel. And so it that in itself does kind of help keep us hold each other accountable of like, hey, I don't feel good because I just had 2 pasta meals in a week. let's go back. You know what I mean? Or vice versa. If I'm pushing for something, he's like, you're going to feel like crap. Do you want to
Right.
do that? No, I don't. Thank
Right.
you for reminding me. So that helps too. I mean, the healthier you go, you feel better. And why don't you want to feel better?
Right.
Well, and for you guys, having another person that's going through it with you,
Yeah.
it's like if you have to be deprived, so is he. And if
Yeah.
you have to be deprived, so is she. And I've found that helps a lot
It
because
helps.
when the decision was, I'm recently married, and when I was single and the decision was only mine, it was a lot harder to deprive myself than now that it's both of us,
Yeah.
because I'm like, well, if I'm not eating this, eating out fast food or something, then she isn't either. And so we're like going through it together.
Yeah.
And you have that support. Or getting up early and going to the gym, right? It's like you both got up early and came to the gym together. So you knew the other one was having to do that
Yeah.
too. It's not like the other one was just sleeping in and you had to get up early, And I think that is a massive factor. I don't know if you guys would be as successful in your own fitness if the other one wasn't bought in as well.
I mean, I definitely don't think we would. I mean, when we got into fitness, I know, like, we sat down and we both said, like, we never want to be in the position that we are again, ever. So anytime we do kind of start feeling like the other one's able to persuade the other to kind of get off track really good, it's like, hey, like, you remember like 2-3 years ago, like how big we were, how unhealthy we were, how terrible we felt constantly. And then it's like, take that moment of self-realization and be like, yeah, I don't ever want to feel like that again. Like, I want to be able to go and enjoy and do stuff while we still can, before, or if we get unhealthy, we're not going to be able to go do the things that we've started to enjoy now and stuff like that. So it's that kind of like, you want to keep doing fun things that you used to do in your past, but then the realization of like, you can't go down that path anymore. Sorry, we're not 21, 22 years old anymore with that metabolism where, I ate 5 cheeseburgers and by tomorrow I'll have it all gone through my system and all the calories are gone. Now if I eat 5 cheeseburgers, I think for like a month, I'm going to be like, oh my God, I think I gained about 10, 15 pounds just off that one meal.
Yeah. I think it was, suffering has a way of, and that's what I call it. Like when I eat garbage, I don't feel good.
Yep.
Right. And I call that suffering. And that has a way of aligning my goals. Right. So, I think it was probably, a month ago, everyone wanted to go fast food and I'm like, fine. And I'm like, so I had like a half of a burger. I couldn't eat another bite of it. I felt terrible. And then about a week ago, the whole family wanted to go to Freddy's. Is that what it's called? Freddy's?
The burger place?
Burger place, yeah.
The steak
And
burgers, man.
so I go up there and I'm like, okay, well, it's protein. And I didn't want to go, but, the kids all wanted to go. So I get up to the counter and I say, okay, how much each one of those patties weigh? Nobody knows anything at those fast food joints about how much hamburger's on there, because all they do is get prepackaged, cook it, and go, right? And I forced it. I said, I want to know how much protein is in each one of those patties. 2.2.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, wow, that's an expensive burger for only 2 ounces of meat. So I didn't get that. I didn't want any bread. So I had a few of their chicken strips and called it the day. And it still wasn't that great. But the point is that when you eat clean for a long period of time and then you suddenly introduce something that's got a lot of preservatives in it, or it's loaded with, dyes or, whatever it might be, some type of texturing agent, they're inflammatories. And you feel terrible. And the only time I will suffer going through that, because I think it's worth it, is that buttery popcorn at the theater, which is probably the worst thing on the planet for you. But I go to the movie like once every 6 months, so I'm but I do feel kind of like garbage after I eat that. But anyway.
What do you get, the small bag or the massive
I
bucket?
I load up, man.
He goes all in.
I go. That's where I let it rip, right?
Gotcha.
So I put the straw down into the popcorn, so I can get the butter down in the bottom. I do that. So it's just loaded. My hands are just dripping with that disgusting stuff, and I was like, "This is so good." And then I feel terrible when I leave the theater. And I was like, after about an hour, I said, "Oh, that was worth it." It was like one time every 6 months, but
That was good.
One thing I've always kind of thought was interesting about you guys have a very active social life, which is not uncommon for a lot of people, a lot of couples. But one of the biggest complaints I hear about people having an active social life is they complain about how it derails them, right? And they say, oh, well, I can't be healthy. I have this active social life, or I have to go to all these events. I always like to go out with my friends. Like, I'm not going to sacrifice that. You guys seem to have struck a really good balance in that you still maintain that social life, but you're also still staying in good shape and staying healthy. What's the secret to that?
Honestly, I think we just annoyed our friends enough about telling them, like, hey, sorry, not going to do that. Like, we're working out, like, we got a goal. And then just being like, oh, I worked out today, man. I'm not coming out today. Like, I'm too tired. Or when we do go out, instead of, like when I used to go out with friends for beers, it would be like, oh, yeah, I'll drink 6-7 beers, like craft beers too. So the real thick stuff, to where when we started working out, and even now, it's like I'll have 2-3 tops. And then it's slow drinking them, like instead of just, pounding them. And sometimes friends are like, are you good? Like, everything all right? Like, you're not yourself. I'm like, well, yeah, I just not my thing very much anymore. Like, still enjoy coming out and hanging out with you all, but the social drinking and things like that, just, I don't know. I guess it's kind of pulled that away a little bit, but we also have friends that don't try to over push us and try to like they have their own goals and they see that we're trying to achieve ours. So it's just that I guess you got to find.
Well, then you're influencing friends,
Yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I've found is that you actually influence if the friends that will stay around
Yes.
you will suddenly start thinking about their own health.
Yeah.
Right. I know. Just in my own family, my daughter is like going on this health kick. I mean, she's running every day. She brings every time we eat, she goes, Dad, what about this? What about it? Is this healthy? I mean, everything. So a little bit manic, a little bit, but she's really into it, right? And the only thing I'm trying to get her straightened out on is her sleep. She likes to, stay up a little late, being 17, but she's really in this health kick right now and wants to eat really healthy and is concerned about everything that's going in her body. And so she's asking me about everything. Yeah. But I found not only in your family, your friends, there's certain friends that over time they want to drink. I don't.
Yeah.
I'll have a cocktail, but I might have one.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I'm assuming you guys have experienced the same thing.
Yeah.
As you go forward, you have certain friends you probably maybe not hang out with as much, and some that are, they support you.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, you have to set boundaries, and if your friends don't respect your boundaries, then they're maybe not your friends.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That's kind of
a very
one of
good
the ways
point.
I've looked at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of friends too that when we hang out, they even say like, yeah, I'm just not feeling like drinking, or yeah, I'm just sticking to like a flavored water. And, we will even kind of sort of question it at first of like, hey, you're not drinking, just because that's what we're used to with them. And they're like, yeah, I'm just not feeling it, or yeah, I had a really crazy night last night, and that's about it. And it's like, okay, cool. Yeah. Let us know if you, want something different, want different water or whatever. But they're kind of invested in it too in their own ways. But I think at least the friends that we hang out with now, they understand. They kind of went through the same things that to a certain extent, right? Like we all got a little crazy during COVID. We all got comfortable. But I think ever since then, all of us kind of have acknowledged, especially through our journey, it was always like, well, are you guys still at the gym? Are you guys still going to the gym? Even at work now, a lot of the girls, they'll randomly pop in and say, hey, you're still working out? Like, what do you do with this? Or, hey, I found these new like overnight oats. Have you ever tried them? Like, what do you think? And we'll just talk about it. But it's because they know that I've kind of communicated that whenever they're like, that was our whole lives for like 2 years at least was just constantly gym, meal prep. That was just, we were so invested. And so that it definitely affected a lot of our relationships, but not in a bad way, in a really good way.
No, I mean, even a lot of our friends now have, like, they've done their own things, or in the past they've we have some really good friends that, they've been on Weight Watchers and stuff before, and they stuck with it really good, and like it worked out great for them. But I think where they kind of struggled was once they got off of it and went kind of just back to like a normal routine. Like they did keep like the meal prep and stuff like that, but like what we struggled with at first of like, okay, hey, like portion control, calorie intake, like trying just to maintain that and knowing like exactly. So like when we had meal plans from like you all, it was great to see like, oh, hey, 8 ounces of chicken equals this, or, this is how much I need per meal. So it was a lot easier than just being like, oh yeah, I'll take, a 24-ounce steak in one meal, and then, another 6-ounce piece of chicken with this meal. And it's like you over consume what you should or something like that. So it's kind of neat. Like all of our friends are kind of all in the same boat. So that I think helps a lot too, of like everybody's trying to discover and get back to their own goals that they want. And nobody really pushes one another to like get off or derail. Everybody's like, yeah, like I'm happy for you. Like keep going. Like you're looking great. You're doing great, kind of thing. So I guess having those people who encourage you to on your own path really help.
Yeah. So there was something you left out in your personal story that I know. And I think it'd be interesting because it's unique. It's not something a lot of people do. You used to do roller derby.
I did.
Right. So what were some of the things you had to deal with fitness-wise when you did that? I mean, as far as what it was, the cardiorespiratory expectation doing that, I wouldn't know. So, and your nutrition during that time, I'd be curious about what you found during that time and how you strategized to perform.
It was interesting, to be honest, because I was going through some health issues at the same time that I didn't know about. And so when I had started roller derby, it was very soon after we got married. And throughout the course of that was kind of during when I gained my most weight, which is not necessarily, it's not necessarily a negative thing, because you need that weight to hit other people. Like you are actively trying, you know what I mean? Like I was able to hit harder. I was able to,
You're more sturdy.
I was more sturdy. However, I wasn't as fast. I wasn't as agile to get through other bodies, right? And it was intriguing to see a lot of the females that were in the league at the time. Throughout the years, you would see other females gain heavy weight, and they could hit hard, and that would suck. As soon as you'd see another person that it's like, wow, they kind of, maybe got a little heavier, but man, they hit harder, and you avoid them more. And it's like, dang, but they're more sturdy. But then a lot of the girls, they do keto, or they, start shifting their focus. They do a lot more cardio. They do a lot more training outside of the league or outside of our practices. And they'd gain a lot more muscle, and they maybe can't hit as hard, but they were faster. They could get around you quicker. They could, it was just different. And so my journey was a little hard just because I got sick during it. And so my weight gain and just my illness kind of affected my ability to do a lot more that I probably could have done. I stuck very much to the skating portion, which was a lot of cardio. So you would think that it'd be, that I would be able to handle it a little bit better, but it wasn't so much. I saw a lot of girls that would do weight training with it. That affected them drastically. Like they were a force to be reckoned with. If they were doing both the cardio on skates plus weightlifting, that was a game changer for these females. But I wasn't doing that. I was just staying on my skates. And so I really had to learn. I mean, it was nice when I was a little bit sturdier on my skates. However, it was a lot of cardio, and I felt that, and I felt good with it.
There's a lot of interval training too, because
Yes.
like one match or like one round is 2 minutes, so it's almost like, so it could either go the full 2 minutes, or you could have it to where it only goes minutes, but you're sprinting almost that entire time on your skates. So that was a big thing too.
It was huge. Yeah.
So
yeah, it was a lot of, I would say, yeah, cardio, interval training. And I enjoyed it because it wasn't just running on a treadmill. Like
Right.
I'm not that kind of girl. I can't do it. It drives me insane. And so this was yet another different option, right? Like it was, okay, I'm still being active. I'm still doing, keeping my body healthy to a certain extent. But I do know, even just looking back, man, had I really invested a little bit more in just cross training or trying something else, or just not just being on my skates for my workout, I think I could have been even better. Like I
Right.
look back on it now and I'm like, I could have done so much more. I could have been a better derby player. I could have been, a bigger force, a better teammate, all these things. But I will say the biggest thing though, even during that time, it's lack of knowledge. It's lack of understanding. What did I need to do for my body? What should I have been eating? I was not eating properly. I could tell you that right now. Like we were still eating out. We still weren't eating the proteins that we needed. I think I wasn't getting my protein intake. And
Right.
so, yes, I was doing the cardio. I was participating in the matches, but I wasn't still doing what I needed to do to keep my body healthy. And then when I did get sick, I think that's kind of when my journey in derby stopped. And that's when we shifted our focus of, this isn't for me anymore. I don't want to continue to get hit. My body cannot take it anymore. What else can I do? And that's kind of when
Right.
we shifted.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense what you were saying. It's like if you're heavier and you're moving at the same rate of speed versus when you're not as heavy, there's going to be more of an impact, right? So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Even if you're, I think the strength aspect is going to be, being able to take the hit, right? The more mass you have as far as, strong core, strong legs, then you can take the hits better, versus the heavier person. So, I mean, to me, that was, I remember when we were talking about it years ago, I mean, it's kind of a fascinating examination in physics, being on skates and moving like that. So, as you were talking, I'm thinking, I got to ask her about that because I remember having this discussion a couple of years ago. So fascinating. So what about when you left skating? How long between when you left skating and you started showing up at the gym?
about 2 years.
About 2 years, yeah. Because I got real sick, and so I had surgery, and so it took me a while to recover. But soon after that, we still kind of just...
Well, then COVID hit.
Yeah, COVID
and we
kinda
got
hit.
comfortable, and everything that you had lost after your surgery and stuff, you gained it all right back.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Wow. And that was about, 21, 22 when we started seeing you in the gym?
I think it was about 21 we joined.
21, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think it was right before they were getting ready to transition again from shred to 100.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Right around
And I
then.
think even then we were doing about 2 or 3 training sessions, but we were also doing the Wednesday HIIT core and cardio classes. And I think that was something that we really enjoyed it. But I think, again, the cardio aspect of it, we don't do cardio, we don't do HIIT, we didn't do any of that. So, but incorporating even that one session a week, we were even just talking the other day, it made a huge difference. Even
Yeah.
the one cardio session a week, we felt a difference. We were seeing the weight loss, we were seeing the muscle gain. But that's something we've even recently talked about, we want to get back into. And we've found different ways to incorporate that without just, you're never going to see me on the treadmill downstairs. I'll try it, but I'm going to last about 10 minutes and I'm bored out of my mind and I'm coming back upstairs and it's just not going to happen. So we talk about a lot okay, we bought a jump rope. That's fun. It's kind of different. Gets you back into your kind of childhood. We'll go on walks with the dogs. We'll find a different spot to go hike. There's a local pool behind our house that we finally started looking at. And I was like, it's $5 to go. Let's go take a swim. We were both swimmers in high school. That was such a happy time for us. Like we enjoy swimming. We were both swimmers. And so that was kind of fun to get to go and even just do that together. And it's crazy good cardio. So we're just trying to find those different ways to incorporate just health and fitness into our lives that doesn't feel like work, or it's something that we still enjoy. We're still trying to find those moments where it's like, wow, that was really fun. Let's do it again. Let's go back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if it's a lifestyle that you're going to commit to, you don't want to hate it the whole time.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
That you'll never stick with it.
Right.
And that's what I always tell people. We have to find something that you can do that you can enjoy, or else you'll quit eventually. No one can suffer for their whole life.
No. So, talk about what you guys are doing now. I mean, like, what are your goals now? You know, you've had these ups and downs, you've had these trials. And so, usually when we go through trials, we learn something about ourselves. We learn something about triggers in our lives. So, talk to us a little bit about, you know, where you're at now, and, you know, those things that you try to avoid, those things that you try to include, and what you see in the future.
I think for me, one of the hardest hurdles that I ran into is just that constant mental battle with that number on the scale. And I got into just a very unhealthy relationship with myself with that, of like, oh, I gained the 1 pound. I'm not doing good. Well, obviously, I just had a meal an hour. Like, you know, it's a different time that I weighed myself, all these different things. And so I was relying so much on that for quite a while. And also just an unhealthy relationship with food of like, oh no, if I eat the one piece of pizza, I'm done for. I just screwed up my whole plan. And so I just got into a bad mental just relationship with my health. And so over the last, you know, even just a year, we're going to the gym off and on, definitely not as much as we should, but I'm not beating myself up over it.
It's important.
Yeah, we're still meal prepping our lunches, but like you said, we're doing HelloFresh. So I've had to learn that, like, it's okay to have a pasta meal. You're okay. How else are we going to, you know, still stay healthy? And so mine's been a lot of like that mental journey, that mental relationship with myself. I don't think I rarely step on the scale anymore. We moved it. It's gone. That's not the focus. It's not about the weight on the scale. It's about how I'm feeling. It's about trying to do what makes me feel good. When it comes to the eating, you know, again, do I want to have a nice meal? Yeah, because I want to be happy. I like food. But it's also very much just acknowledging, what am I eating? What am I putting in my body? Is that healthy? And so we've been focusing a lot on just our, just finding the right activities that make us feel good, but also we've just been expanding our knowledge and trying to acknowledge just learning. Honestly, we're constantly learning what is better for us, what is a different supplement, what else could we be doing that's just a little bit different that maybe we can try. And so we're definitely not in the gym as much as we should be now, when we're definitely trying to get back to that, but we're also acknowledging, okay, we have all of these things. So our next goal truly is, after this weekend, we're getting back to the gym. We've continued our eating, but we're also cutting out alcohol. So, and again, we're holding each other accountable. It's like, this is our end date. Like, we're okay. Yeah, let's have a good birthday weekend. Let's have a good celebration. We're not going overboard, but we will indulge a little. But that's our cutoff, and we're done.
Right.
And we are hitting it, and we are going back to it, and we're holding each other accountable. And this is our next goal date. So I think our next goal date after this weekend is our anniversary in June. So we're like, okay, we have 3 months. What do we want to do? Where do you want to be? Where do I want to be? Let's try to get there, and we'll hold each other accountable until then, and then we'll make our next goal. And so it's truly only about three months at a time, because anything more than that, it's hard to maintain. It's hard to actually to do it.
Right. How about you?
So, I mean, kind of the same thing. I know a big thing that we have started incorporating in is, like she was saying, of learning more like homestead stuff. Like, okay, you know, looking more into like my parents have a farm. Like, they grow all their own vegetables, everything. And during the summer, like, we'll always, like, anytime they offer, like, yeah, I'm taking all that. Because one, I know what they put into it, like into the ground, and two, I know exactly where it came from. So I know a big struggle for us for a while was like, well, we're eating this food or we're taking this medicine or whatever, but in turn it's actually hurting us more than it's benefiting us. So we've kind of shifted more to focusing on, you know, that kind of stuff to incorporate into our diets. And then goal wise, yeah, instead of like, we have our overall goals that we want to see by the end of the year, but we also have broken them up kind of like you guys talked about. Like, okay, what's your overall goal? And then what's your smaller goal? So like our next goal is by our anniversary in June is like, hey, I want to be down, you know, to 215. So that's about 15 pounds. Can I do it in 3 months? Like, it's possible. Like, it's going to take a lot of work, but if I don't hit it, like, I'll be a little upset with my own self, but I can't blame anybody but myself. But the nice part about like having Claire there is, you know, to keep each other there on track and being like, hey, remember what your goal was? Like, this is what you set for yourself. I didn't set this. It's that kind of like give and take of like, you know, hey, you're doing great for your goal. Like, yeah, you had a bad day. It's okay. Like,
Yeah.
we can move on from it. But yeah, I definitely just trying to get back in the swing of things has been the hardest part. But like we've talked about, finding those activities that are fun to do, but people don't really incorporate like them with a crazy workout or something. Like, most people don't go hiking with a 10-pound weight in their backpack or something
Right.
like that. So like, it's just certain things like that. Like, hiking is great. Like, we enjoy it a lot, but then adding, you know, 10 extra pounds for no reason. It's like, what?
Yeah, you know, something that Claire said, you mentioned something right at the beginning, and I know and this is usually tends to be on the female side of things. I know several women that, you know, watch the scale. Mm-hmm. And it's indicative of I'm successful or not. Mm-hmm. And I try to change that mindset. I know Parker tries to change that mindset, because what are they adding? Mm-hmm. Muscle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I always say what you should probably be more focused on is your percentage of body fat. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I can think of like 3 people I'm training right now that just started within the last 6 to 8 weeks. I told them from day one, you know, and obviously you've been at this longer, but it kind of alludes to that scale watching, because I hear it so much that the first thing I tell them is that when they walk in, it's like, now the first 8 weeks, you're not going to see much change in the scale. I'm just telling you that. Mm-hmm. So, and as you go through that, you know, realize that your body's going through a massive change. The initial, the muscles are going to go into a violent reaction to working out 2 or 3 times a week,
Yeah.
and they're going to go like that. And so you're going to gain muscle mass, and you're going to probably lose some fat too. But I've been talking to them every day I train them, and I say, you're looking different, because you know what? I feel different.
Yeah.
So you've set that standard at the beginning that they're not expecting a weight change, but their clothes are starting to feel different, right? So if they're super focused on the scale, they're not giving themselves the benefit of, hey, my clothes are fitting differently. My body's looking different.
Yeah.
I'm feeling better, right? And so those are the things that are more important than, hey, I want to be at that number.
Yeah.
Because then it makes the whole gym experience miserable.
Right.
Well, I know for us, when we first started the gym and we started transitioning and stuff, like, I mean, it was kind of nice to hear friends of ours or even family members compliment us on, like, you know, arms, or, oh, hey, you're looking a lot better. So it was that, you know, I know we both struggled for it. Like you just talked about, we saw that number on the scales for the first, you know, couple weeks, and we're like, nothing's changing. Like, why are we doing this? And then, you know, it just so happened, you know, people are like, oh, hey, you're looking bigger. Like, hey, you're looking good. Clothes are fitting better, you know, type of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I know, like, you were super excited. Like, you're like, yeah, my butt's getting bigger in my leggings. Like, I love it. I was like, I know. I enjoy it too. Like, you know, so it's nice to see those results just kind of come. And, you know, I guess the only hard part for, like, us living together is you see that person every day. So, like, unless it's like some crazy massive change, you don't kind of, like, outside looking in, you don't notice all the small changes occurring so much. Like, you'll see, like, the end result of, like, wow, like, looking at a picture to now, it's like, oh, that's crazy. But so that's a hard struggle for us, I think, and I'm sure maybe a lot of people deal with that, of, you know, their spouse is like, well, do you notice a difference? It's like, well, kind of, yeah, but not really, because it's like, I see you every single day. I'm almost with you. You know, I'm with you so often that, you know, I see you, but I'm not seeing the massive changes that other people are seeing, or the small changes that, you know, are occurring. So,
Yeah. And it's not like, you can't take that personally, right? Because again, you're seeing each other every single day, but it's like over the course of weeks on end, right? If we're both continuing to drink, yeah, I can tell that his face maybe looks a little bit puffier because he's the one that brought it up. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, I guess if you're saying that, I guess, sure. Now that you're saying that, I guess I could see that. However, I also know why we're both seeing that in ourselves, right? But it's harder to notice the difference. And I think it helped a lot when we first started our journey. We took pictures, I think.
Yeah, we took our own pictures.
Every month, yeah. And again, I think doing that scale, kind of being able to see outside of just weight, that was extremely helpful for me. I'm a stats girl. I like to see the numbers, but if the weight wasn't changing. So I needed to see that I was making progress in some way to keep my motivation, and that helped. And then also us taking our own pictures every month and being able to kind of compare, I could slowly see a difference. I could see a difference in him. I could see a difference in me. Whereas day to day, like, no, we probably won't see that. We see each other every day. The transition isn't going to happen that fast to be able to say.
Well, I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves. Motivation is very tactile, right? Mm-hmm. So it's great for us to say, hey, I'm just inspiring myself. Yeah. But the reality is we're tied to time and matter, right? Smells inspire us, beautiful pictures inspire us, someone doing something heroic inspires us. And then numbers that are positive inspire us and motivate us, right? Yeah. So we have to understand that's a reality of who we are, right? Mm-hmm. And so, that's why you depending on each other is very crucial to, like, hey, I mean, me and my wife do it all the time. If I'm having kind of a downer day, she's picking me up and vice versa. That's the role of the husband and wife. Yep. So, especially on the fitness journey, if you're just like not feeling it today, you as your being your husbandry role have to do what it takes to, without upsetting Claire, inspire her. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's very true. I mean, you can't discount the fact that, well, you should just do it because you're going to feel better. Well, you know what? We're tied to this world. We need those little inspirations from each other. Just working with Parker's. He's inspired me to do things, right? Yeah. Ryan's has inspired me to do things. Members have inspired me to do things, right? Just by what they say, what they do, things they deal with in their personal life. So, we can't discount that. We have to use that as a tool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's another thing that we've really learned is how to talk to each other, how to motivate each other, because his motivations are different than mine. And you're right. It's just saying, well, we're paying for it, so you need to go. That's not going to do it for me. Right. I'm going to be like, well, then I'm not going to pay for it anymore. Forget it. I'm hard-headed. So he's, and I think Derby helped a lot with that. He was kind of a coach on the team. We had to learn how to communicate with each other.
Rides home after practices were not always the greatest. There were a lot of times of, I wouldn't say screaming at each other, but disagreements, and then not talking, and then sitting in silence, and then being like, so we good? No. It's like, all right, well, I'll give it another 10 minutes then.
But, he came from military where it's like you're going to get yelled at and told what to do, and you're just going to go do it.
Right.
You yell at me and tell me what to do, and I'm going to say, screw you. I'm going to walk away and say, don't yell at, don't talk to me. I take a different motivation. Sure. And so, on those days where we were, maybe he didn't want to go or I didn't want to go, I needed him to communicate with me in that way of, hey, remember the other day when you said after working out that you felt so good and you felt like you weren't as stressed at work? I think you should come with me because you said you had a lot of meetings today. I think this will help. And it's like he had to logically help me get there. And it's like, no, you're right. Okay, I'm going to go. Whereas for him, it's like, hey, you said you didn't like how you looked. I think you should come with me on this walk. Like, you just have to figure out what truly is where is your partner at and what's going to motivate them and help them. And I think we both have had to learn for a couple, obviously, years, and we're going to have to continue to learn. But I think we've been able to figure out how do I motivate him? Like, obviously, you're not going to enjoy all the activities I do, but how do I still get you out of the house? How do I still get you to come with me, or vice versa when we're really not feeling it, and communicating it in the way that makes you actually want to go and not just you need to go to the gym. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I mean, males are kind of like that. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, you know, it's like, get your ass out of the chair. Let's go.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
that's, so yeah,
Yeah.
you have to communicate differently.
Yeah.
So, well, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah. So I had a couple of like closing questions I kind of wanted to ask you guys. More of a quick fire round. Both of you will answer. So first thing I wanted to ask is biggest tip for anybody starting their fitness journey today. Just a quick 1-sentence tip. Claire, you go first.
Oh gosh. Just be patient. Be kind with yourself. Be patient and let it happen.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Be kind with yourself.
I mean, don't give up. Know that you're starting at a place that you don't like yourself, and just know that, hey, you have to take that first step towards where you want to go, and just keep that in your mind the entire time of like, this is where I was, and now I'm improving myself from there. So just like kind of, I guess what Claire said, just stay on it. Don't be patient with yourself.
It's good advice.
All right. Next one. Favorite exercise to do in the gym?
I love RDLs.
I know what your answer
is
is.
I
weird.
love RDLs
so
so
weird.
much. Every time you gave me leg day, I was like, can I do RDLs?
Yeah.
Please.
I'm going to say fly, like incline flies. Like as much as I hated them because you guys would be like, oh, do 40, do 50, up the weight. Like that feel that you can, like, it just feels like I'm actually, like I can feel my muscles like tiring and working during those moments. And again, I mean, I give you guys, have to give you guys props because for the longest time I thought I was doing them right. And the first time I did it, you guys were like, hey, like you're there kind of, but you need to focus more here and here. And then
Right.
as soon as I did that, I was like, okay, I got to drop weight. Like, nope, this is way different. So,
That happens a lot. A lot of people,
Yeah.
they come into the gym, never been personally trained. They're throwing around some weight.
Yeah.
Correct the form, that weight goes,
Yeah.
you know.
And that's
So,
the big thing too, of like just trying to make sure we maintain proper form and not, get away from that. That has been
very important.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
All right. Next one. Favorite cheat food?
Sonic ice cream. Like I need my blast.
Specifically Sonic.
So
Sonic.
specifically my Sonic
it with
Blast
Sonic?
ice cream. I don't know. They know how to do it.
it's nostalgia
It's
for
been
her.
yeah. It's
That's-
been my thing lately.
Her and
Like,
her
that's my
sister used to
cheat.
go get slushies all the time after school. I could probably repeat the stories like over and over again.
That was
Is
my
it the
cheat.
same thing every time, or do you switch it up?
Usually ice cream wise,
She has
it's I have
two different ones.
go-tos. Yeah. When I find something I like, I stick with it.
Yeah.
It's
Do you
hard
do
for
the
me to
one
switch
where
up.
they mix the ice into the ice cream? Like what?
Yeah.
What's that called?
Oh, the blast one is where they have like the ice cream and they mix in like the chunks of the Heath or the Snickers or whatever, and
Right,
they
right.
put all the junk inside.
But
of
there's
it.
one that's called, it's a slush, but it's got ice cream in it.
Oh, I don't know about that one.
I can't remember. It's something they're doing there. There's a name for it, but
Interesting.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
They got rid of all the Sonics around us, so
I wish they would around us, but it's too easy. It's too easy.
all right.
I'm gonna say pizza, just because like I love pizza for some reason. Just because there's the array of different things you can put on them. But yeah, pizza is my go-to cheat meal.
What kind of pizza specifically? There's differences here. This is
Yeah.
important.
So it's not commercial brand. It's more of like Spin or like Brick Oven or even kind of like Martin
Oh.
City, kind of the more like I guess
Like the food
pita
pizza.
Yeah. So
The fancy
Yeah,
pizza.
the fancy.
Fancy
yeah,
pizza.
The
I
fancy
want to be fancy. No, it's the taste. Like
Yeah.
I just feel like there's not as much, I guess, preservative in their crust, which again I could be completely wrong.
Usually those crusts are pretty thin.
Yeah, it's almost like it reminds me of like almost eating like flatbread with toppings on it. So that was like a big thing. And I think the reason why is so sorry not to sidetrack, but in Afghanistan they made this like flatbread that we would buy all the time, and I don't know if it just takes me back there, but it was like some of the best fresh bread ever. So like Martin City and Spin, like their crust reminds me of that bread. I guess that's probably why.
Nostalgia.
Yeah. Hers is a childhood, and mine is a crazy foreign country that I was in.
Excellent.
All right, last one here, a little bit deeper. Biggest tip for a happy, successful marriage?
I don't even know if we can truly answer that.
Oh.
No, and I'm not saying that from a bad way. It's just how everybody rates their happiness and their marriages, I feel like can go so far. I know for us, it's just like we truly have become, I feel, best friends. Like there's not a day that like I don't talk to her, or even like at work when it's like I'm bored or I'll have like 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, I'll just text her, like, love you, like, hey, how's your day, kind of thing. Like, just, I know, nostalgic, right? No, but no, I truly feel like when you find that relationship with your partner, it's not necessarily a partnership. It's a like great friendship. Like I feel like we have such a great, like we joke with each other. We talk smack to one another. Like when we go out with our friends, we'll talk smack with our friends about our partner. And it's just like you sat there and like, I hate you, but you right. All right. You got me on that one. Like I can't disagree with that. So like being able to joke, I think being able to joke and just have that freedom of like knowing that, you know, at the end of the day, it is us. It's just me and you. And if you're unhappy with that person, I don't know. I don't understand how people can be unhappy with their partner and then just stay for years on out.
Well, it sounds like advice to me.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I would say the same thing. I think like we're friends. Like I love him to death, but we also we can joke, we can hang out. I can tell him anything. Like he's my go-to person, no matter what. I can be weird. I can, be obnoxious, and I know at the end of the day he's right there with me. We can just talk about anything, and I think for especially me, I need that person, and so. I think obviously we always say communication is key, but it's communicating to that person in the way that they need to be communicated to.
With honesty, too.
With honesty, yeah. And I think being able for me to accept a message, I need to hear it a certain way. Same thing with him. And so I think a lot of people don't realize, like, if we're able to communicate so well together, which has helped us build our friendship and our relationship, and we talk about everything, or we talk about, we just talk things through, and it's communicating so that I can understand and he can understand. And I think that's helped us build this friendship within our relationship of, I know he's my go-to. I know I can rely on him, and I know he's there for me too. And at the end of the day, like you said, it's us. Regardless of what else happens, you're my best friend, and I want to make sure you're okay, and I want to make sure we're okay. And that's what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Good stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to add?
I mean, my only thing would just be like be able to, like, we're not afraid to have a hard conversation with each other. Like there are times where I just need to vent, and I'll tell her, I'm like, hey, just save everything, any advice for the end. Just let me vent this out. And she does the same thing. And there's times where it's like, I don't really like how you're coming at me. You're not seeing my side of the story. But then at the same time, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, I get how either I overreacted or that other person, for whatever the situation was, like I see where they're coming from now. Like you just need that perspective, but like you can't be afraid to be like, well, I don't really like what you said to me, but okay, I'll respect it and go about my way. I think that's a big thing too, of like,
just sounds like honesty is at the top of the list there.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Well, good. Well, we want to thank you guys so much for coming on our podcast. I think you guys talked about some really good stuff, and for everyone listening, listen to these two, because they're very dedicated, and they figured a lot of things out at a very young age, and it's some really good advice to listen to. So I want to thank you guys for coming on.
Well, thank you guys for having us. Thank you. It was fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys all for listening, and we will be back next week with another episode for you guys.
Hey, look at you. You've completed another milestone by finishing this episode of Loading the Bar. Your future self thanks you profusely. Loading the Bar is podcasted from Lee Summit, Missouri. Email us at cpt.kansascity@gmail.com. Forge ahead and share your progress, and we'll see you back here for another episode of Loading the Bar.